All right, hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Just a Girl from Cleveland. This is episode 150. Very exciting recording today. I was actually going to record yesterday, and then I kind of thought I should wait just one more day because the NBA draft decided they wanted to take 2 days this year, mostly because they really wanted to milk the coverage of the second round of the NBA draft where Bronny James was most likely going to be drafted. That's obviously what did happen. And it's a crazy day to be a LeBron fan. It's a crazy day to be an NBA fan, and just a fan of like cool stories happening in sports. Throughout this whole process, it felt like there was a high chance that Bronny was going to end up on the Lakers. It felt like all signs were pointing in that direction, but you just never know until something actually happens. And to see the Lakers put that call in and, see that it's actually happening, that those two are going to be on the same team together is so incredible. Anyone who is like aggressively hating on this, I just think likes hating LeBron and likes being just a hater for everything he does, because this is an objectively like really cool thing that very rarely gets to happen, because it is so hard to play a sport professionally for even a year, let alone for over 2 decades as LeBron has played it. Timing all had to work for that. He had to be have his son at a young enough age, which he did, and also to be able to take care of his body for as long as he has in order to be playing at the level he is playing at this age, for his son to be able to get drafted to play with him. It's not going to probably happen again. Like, this is not something that is easy to happen. So I think if you're just hating on it, you're being a hater. For the sake of hating. I obviously am very excited. Of course, look, I would love for this to be happening in Cleveland. Like, it sucks that it's happening in LA and not in Cleveland. I very much wish it was happening here, but I still think it's so cool that they are getting to play together. Throughout this whole process, I guess during this off season, everything leading up to the draft, it was reported that he worked out for Phoenix, so the Suns were another team that really was showing interest in him. I think Rich Paul had said Minnesota and Dallas had some interest. I thought Dallas would have been an interesting one if he and Kyrie were teammates. Like, seeing that together would be kind of a weird time warp thing. But it felt like if it wasn't going to be the Lakers, it was probably going to be Phoenix. Interestingly, today when I was watching the coverage on, I think it was on ESPN, of the draft, it was reported by one of the guys on there that Rich Paul was telling teams like, hey, do not draft Bronny because he will just go play in Australia. Like, I think he was really holding out to probably end up playing on the Lakers. So basically telling other teams like, no, don't do it. And a lot of people were mad about this, but I don't think it is as uncommon as people might think it is for players to put out there, whether through their agent or some other way, that they don't want to be on a certain team. Like, this does happen in sports. I don't think this is the first time that has ever happened. I feel like people are just kind of focusing on it because it's Rich Paul and because it's Bronny, but that does happen in sports where guys are like, I don't want to go there. I want to go somewhere else. It's definitely talked about at times. Everything with Bronny obviously has been talked about off the court. From an on the court standpoint, my kind of take on this is, I think the fact that he is LeBron's son sets him up for so much more success than if he wasn't. Like, everyone can talk about nepotism, and Woj had a great little moment on the show talking about nepotism. He said, like, look, nepotism is everywhere in sports. It's in front offices, it's in coaching. People are just getting mad because it's LeBron and because it's Bronny. They don't get mad about it when it's happening in literally every other part of the league. So people look on this downside of nepotism in this specific instance compared to all of those other instances. But I think in this case, I think the nepotism actually benefits Bronny in an on-the-court standpoint, because getting to watch LeBron do what he has done for Bronny's entire life, his entire life, he has watched his dad do this, is going to help him be able to be successful in this league. I have said this on this podcast and in other instances about the NFL draft. When college players have dads who played in either college football or professional football, I always think that is a leg up for them because they have gotten to watch someone go through it. They know what it takes. They know the sacrifices they have to make. They know the highs and lows of it. They've gotten to watch it themselves. I think that is a huge benefit to have when you are going into play this. So I think Bronny is going to be more set up for success because he's gotten to watch LeBron do what he has done for the entirety of his life. I think there's plenty of guys who don't have that example in their own lives when they're coming into this league, and it's a lot harder for them. So I think that actually is going to play to his advantage. Other than that, I was smiling from ear to ear, looking at old pictures of LeBron and Bronny when he was just a little kid. I mean, he was a tiny little kid and LeBron was winning MVPs, and now they are teammates. It's magical, and I will need to watch them play together in person at some point in time. So that's my new goal, is to make sure that I see them play together, especially before LeBron retires, which, gosh, I don't even know when that's going to happen. I don't like talking about it because it makes me sad. Other NBA draft news, the Cavs drafted Jalen Tyson. That was the first round pick that they had. They did not have a pick in the second round, so it was just that 20th pick. For if you don't know a lot about him, he's a wing. He went to Cal. A lot of people are giving Isaac Okoro comps, which I thought was interesting. I don't feel that's entirely accurate based on the type of player he is. Some of the other comps I was seeing were Caleb Martin from the Heat. As a comp, which I could see honestly probably more than Isaac. Look, the Cavs are in a really strange spot right now where they ended the season and immediately that Shams article that I talked about is blasted everywhere. Talks about just what's going on within the organization in terms of different players being unhappy. JB gets fired. And it just felt like all signs were pointing towards them possibly blowing things up a little bit, whether that was moving on from at least one of the core four, if not maybe even two of them. Obviously getting a new head coach. It just felt like they were going to really go in new directions. And now it's starting to feel like that is not the case. Obviously they did make the coaching change, but in terms of the players, it seems like all of the reports now are, hey, they're keeping the core four together unless they get a really good offer. They're not moving on from any of these guys. So I think that puts them in an interesting position after, I guess, what they did last season. Made it through one round of the playoffs, lost to the Celtics, 4-1, and just really had a lot of ups and downs throughout the season. I think it was hard to feel like they were in a strong rhythm at any point in time. So I guess with this pick that they made, if the goal now is to keep the core four intact, I think this pick makes sense. I think you still need shooting talent. Look, some of the free agency moves that they made last season did not pan out. The George Niang move, Strus just really never got into his rhythm down the stretch. He had some good points throughout the year, but just overall consistency, it just wasn't there. So I feel like if they're keeping that core four together, they just have to go for wing shooting talent. That's the goal, to fill that in at this point in time, if that's how they're moving forward. So I think it makes sense from that perspective. For some Jalen Tyson stats, last season he shot 46.5% from the field, 36% on three-pointers as a junior, and then the season before that he shot 48.3% from the floor, 40.2% on three-pointers. That was at Texas Tech. So pretty good shooter, not anything like crazy amazing or wild stats, but good shooter. 6'6", 218 pounds, so pretty decent size, which is good. Obviously, the conversations we've had about, size on this team have always been interesting. So I think he fits that metric of what they would be looking for. I think the downside for him is he could be a defensive liability. I think that's where you would want Isaac Okoro more, which is why I don't get the Isaac Okoro comps, because defense is Isaac's like strong suit in a lot of ways. So I don't know, but the Cavs GM explained kind of his thoughts on the pick, which I thought was interesting. He said Cleveland considered Tyson the top player and fit available at number 20. He said those factors contributed to the organization passing on opportunities to trade down. So apparently trading down was on the table, and they said no because that was the player that they wanted. He also said that Tyson had the best pre-draft workout with the Cavs despite pushing through a pulled back muscle. Look, obviously they're going to say those positive things in those moments, so nothing too crazy or shocking there, but I did think it was interesting that they had opportunities to trade out of their pick and decided not to. So we'll just have to see what happens. I'm not feeling like crazy optimistic about the Cavs at this point in time, unfortunately. It has been a weird offseason and just a weird couple of months with the team and figuring out what their identity is, especially watching kind of the rest of the league shift. So that is kind of where I'm at there. Okay, quickly, I want to touch on Amari Cooper. So switching gears to NFL talk now out of the NBA. Obviously, that's been the big topic for the Browns recently is Amari Cooper's holdout. And, we're not into full-fledged training camp yet, but it's going to be interesting to see if they're going to be able to get some type of extension done before we get to that point in time. Look, initial thoughts on when this kind of news dropped. My mind immediately as a Browns fan goes to stress and anxiety, because I think an old regime would definitely screw this up. And mess things up. But I think this current Browns front office has shown time and time again that they value paying the players that have produced for them, and that it's really important for them to do that. So I believe that they want to get something done with Amari Cooper. Now, as time has gone on and more, I guess, reports have come out about this, it seems like their disagreement is about the length of the contract. From Amari Cooper's standpoint, I completely understand this. He is getting up there in terms of age for a receiver in this league, so he probably has one more, maybe, decent contract left in him before he's doing those year-to-year type deals and, trying to stay in this league. So I think he is really valuing getting something out of this contract right now in terms of dollar amount and in terms of having the security of a couple of years, because he is getting older and injuries and all of those different things. From the Browns' perspective, I understand why they wouldn't want to tie themselves to a receiver that is getting older. Just knowing that there is questions at the position. They also just paid Jerry Jeudy a lot of money. Not a lot, but a decent amount of money. And I just think they don't really know what that position group is going to look like this season. I think there's a lot of questions about it. So I don't think they want to tie themselves long-term to Amari. I would like them to get something done. I think Amari has been one of the most consistent players on this team of the last few seasons, just reliable at all points in time. And I think, I would hope that they would be able to get something done and keep him around. So we will see what happens, but definitely something to keep an eye on. Like I said, I really want to trust this current regime to figure things out, because they have shown that they value the guys that they have grown in this building and that have produced for them at a high level. Okay. So last little exercise that I want to do here is to quickly mention what my top 5 offenses and top 5 defenses are for the 2024 season. Just a fun little exercise. So let's start with offenses. I feel like I have less intricate commentary on the offenses because for some reason I just feel like it's more obvious. I think defense fluctuates so much from year to year, although a lot of the defenses I'm going to mention were also good last year. I just think the offenses are pretty straightforward because they've got the top players in the league. So the top 5 offenses I have are the 49ers, the Chiefs, the Lions, the Dolphins, and the Ravens. I put an honorable mention for the Rams. There were a couple teams I thought about doing an honorable mention for, but I just feel like the Rams really showed something great last season that people weren't expecting, and I feel like they're really going to be taking off even more this season. Look, 49ers and Chiefs, obviously 2 teams that met in the Super Bowl, pretty self-explanatory. They are good in 2 very different ways, though. Chiefs, amazing for Patrick Mahomes being able to get things done with any type of receiver or man that you pulled off the street for him to throw the ball to. And then the 49ers have more of this cohesive unit that Shanahan has put together where, Brock Purdy doesn't have to do too much to find success because they have guys like Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel. The Brandon Ayuk one is really interesting because there are reports that he potentially wants out of there, which could be really fascinating because I think people underestimate how important he is for that offense. So if he were to actually leave, I would really rethink what I thought that offense was going to look like there in San Francisco. I just think he's a huge part of what they do. But they have this so many weapons, a large variety of weapons that I feel like it's so different than what the Chiefs do, where it's really Patrick, Travis, and then whoever else that they were able to pull in for that season and throw it together and get things done. Just kind of a miracle there. I feel like the Lions are a little bit more similar, I would say, to what I would explain the 49ers to be, where Jared Goff isn't this, ceiling riser of a quarterback that is making you infinitely better. I think he is, in a lot of ways, a game manager that has a lot of experience in this league. And, they have a lot of talent with Amon-Ra and a lot of young talent on that team as well. That's only going to continue to get better. Dolphins, pretty obvious, I think, with their receiving core of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, just special right there. Always going to be interesting, though, to see what the quarterback position is going to look like there. And then the Ravens, I would compare more to how I explained the Chiefs, with Lamar Jackson being that quarterback that just finds ways to win games, that ceiling riser, and has, last season was able to stay relatively healthy. So I think they're going to be pretty good again this year in 2024. So that is my top 5 offenses. Then for defenses, I guess let's go through each of these because I have some thoughts on them. So one, and this isn't even biased, this is just facts, Cleveland Browns. Obviously they were the top defense in the league last year. Defensive Player of the Year in Myles Garrett. They were the top defense in EPA per play last year, in yards allowed per play. I think the biggest question marks about them are, one, they were far better at home than on the road. Talked about that 1 million times on this show. And, interested to see if that trend continues. And 2, is Jim Schwartz going to adjust? I think he has been in this league for so long that it's hard to know if he is going to be agile and want to change based on what he saw last season that wasn't working, specifically in that playoff game against the Texans. I think that's going to be a huge question mark as well. But on paper and just what we saw from this defense at the high points last season, it's hard not to rank them the top in the league. Number 2, I have the New York Jets. So obviously this defense got little to no help from their offense in 2023. Who knows what it's going to be like this year with Aaron Rodgers potentially being back if he stays healthy. Who knows? But they still managed to finish 10th in scoring defense, first in yards allowed per play, and 3rd in EPA per play. So pretty high up there in a couple statistical categories. Deep group of pass rushers. They brought in Hassan Reddick, so some more talent in that group, and I definitely expect them to continue to build on what they did last year, and hopefully, or not hopefully, depending on if you like the Jets or not, that the offense is better and doesn't put the defense in such horrible situations like they did this past season. Number 3, first repeat team from the offense list, I have the Chiefs. So other than Mahomes, they were a massive part of why the Chiefs were able to win the Super Bowl last year. And I think, within that group, a huge part of that was their coaching. Steve Spagnuolo did a excellent job with this group. I think, the things to be concerned about for them, L'Jarius Sneed was a big loss. That was definitely a big one. But, with the coaching staff and just history, I think the Chiefs have earned the benefit of the doubt in a lot of ways, where I'm just going to assume that, they draft correctly, they find the right guys through free agency correctly in order to plug certain holes that they have. So I expect that defense to be performing at a high level once again. Not doubting them. My lesson always, don't doubt the Chiefs. Don't doubt Patrick Mahomes. You can't do it. It's not going to work for you. 4, I have the Cowboys. Another group that has a star player in Micah Parsons, one of the best players in the league. I think when you have foundational pieces like that, like Micah, like a Myles Garrett, it's hard not to be high on this list because they affect games in such a drastic way that you can put sometimes mediocre talent around them and they're still gonna create chaos within the league. So yeah, this defense was pretty great last year. I have some questions about what they're going to look like without Dan Quinn, who is no longer with them anymore. So that'll be, I think, the question mark going into 2024. But lots of talent on that defense. And then the last one is another repeat team from the offense list, which is funny because my 2 repeats are the 2 teams that were in the Super Bowl last year. Makes a ton of sense. San Francisco 49ers. This group was 4th in scoring defense, 8th in yards per play. One of the best off-ball linebacker duos in the league, Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw, like unreal, just fun to watch. You don't find a duo like that in terms of off-ball linebackers on one team ever, so it's really fun to watch that group. I think the concerns for them would be about depth. If they don't stay healthy, their depth could very well be a question, so that'll be something to keep an eye on there. But those are kind of my general ranking thoughts, trying to come up with some interesting things to talk about on here while we wait for football to begin. But that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening. Can't believe it's episode 150. Very cool that I've made it this far and haven't given up. I am a little bit relentless sometimes and can never give up on anything I'm doing. So, but it's because I enjoy doing this. I love talking about Cleveland sports. I love talking about all sports. I love talking about football. I just enjoy it so much. So if you have only listened to one episode or if you've listened to all 150 episodes, thank you so much. It actually really means so much to me to have people who care about what I have to say about sports, who think my opinions are interesting and that I have cool things to say. It really will never get old to me that it matters to anyone. So appreciate anyone who follows me on anything or just listens and watches along, even here or there. So that's all I have. Thank you guys so much. If you could please subscribe, subscribe on the YouTube. I'm starting to post more YouTube shorts on there, so if you want to check any of those out, I'm posting them on other platforms as well, a lot of those videos, but trying to post some stuff on YouTube shorts, so definitely check that out. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, anywhere, Instagram, all of that good stuff. And leave comments, ratings, reviews, all those things. Interactions are always much appreciated. Hope everyone is enjoying their summer. I can't believe we are halfway through 2024. It has flown by so quickly. But I feel like every year continues to do that. It just keeps getting faster. So enjoy the summer, enjoy, whatever you have going on. Appreciate you all as always. Go Browns.